Right. Um, so, me and Jack, we're going to talk about the protectionist state. So, what is the protectionist state? So the protectionist state is restrictions made for the protection of America and its people. So, laws, for example. We will talk about that later.
And it was started by a group of progressors that believed that the government had an obligation to protect and care for the social welfare of American citizens. The protectionist state was based off three pillars: safety, security, and protection.
And I'm going to talk about the meatpacking industry in the 1906. Many industries overworked their employees, and most of them were black people with a minimum salary. Workers were exposed to dangerous chemicals, sharp machinery that led to horrible injuries. For example, maybe an arm got cut off or a finger got cut off, and that would later be in your meat that you ate. There were also a lot of rats running around in the industries, so maybe you could find a rat in your meat too. Public pressure to the U.S. Congress led to the passage of the Meat Inspection Act and Pure Food Act and Drug Act, both passed in 1906. On the same day, to ensure better regulations of the meatpacking industry as well as better treatment for its employees working there. In the 1920s to the 1930s, workers started a unionization called United Packing House Workers of America, UPWA. Workers made important gains in wages, hours, and benefits.
All right. The Triangular Shirtwaist Company fire, 1911. A little background about the company. This was a time when people were immigrating from Europe and they're just looking for any work they could. This was a factory that only employed women. It was considered a sweatshop because people would work 10 to 12 hours a day and barely be paid anything. On March 25th, 1911, right at the end of the workday, disaster struck in one of the cutting rooms. So the workshop was in a building from floor 6 to 11, and you can see here this is where the fire happened on floor 8, and basically everyone above it was trapped. Within minutes, the building was engulfed in flames, and when women were trying to escape, they found themselves locked in, and the elevator was dead. So basically, the women would die from trying to scale down the elevator cables, or they would just jump out of the building, hoping they would survive somehow. Within less than 30 minutes, 147 women were dead, and this is the worst factory fire in New York City history. From this fire, three major building safety laws were implemented. First, doors could always open from the inside out. In all buildings today, no matter where you are in the building, you can always leave the building. It's always unlocked. Doors changed which way they could open to prevent them from being jammed or whatever. And finally, all city buildings were required to have fire escapes. Next is Social Security in 1935. Social Security program began after the Great Depression in the 1930s, which left more than 50% of the elderly poor. The stock market crashed in 1929, which destroyed the value of many Americans' retirement savings. On August 14th, 1935, the Social Security Act was drafted by President Franklin Roosevelt, seen right here. The purpose of the act was to limit the dangers of American life, such as old age, poverty, and unemployment. By signing the act, President Roosevelt became the first president to provide federal assistance to the elderly. The act provided benefits to retirees and the unemployed. The payments were financed by payroll taxes from current workers' wages. The act also included small payments going to states to provide assistance for aged individuals, unemployment insurance, aid to families with dependent children, maternal and child welfare, public health services, and to the blind. And right here, that woman is Ida Mae Fuller. She's the first recipient of a Social Security.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about environmental regulations. So it was not until the 1970s, the environmental decade, that modern pollution control laws began to take shape. The American public was awakened to the need for better pollution control through the 1967's publication of Rachel Carson's groundbreaking Silent Spring and environmental disasters such as Love Canal, New York the Denora invasion, and the Cuyahoga River fire in Ohio. In the late 70s, it was a federal law that all vehicles was required to have a catalytic converter, and they look like this. A catalytic converter is an emission control device on your car that converts toxic pollutions in exhaust gas to less toxic pollutions by catalyzing a redox reaction. As late as July 6, 2011, the Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) finalized a rule that protects the health of millions of Americans by helping states reduce air pollution and attain clean air standards. The rule requires states to significantly improve air quality by reducing power plants emissions that contribute to ozone and fine particle pollutions in other states. And that was me and Jack.